Okay, I bet you can tell I'm having fun again. It's January 8th. You know, we got a little break in the weather, so I'm determined to get some work done on this 6.3. I really want to get it in the shop, so now's the time. Let me explain what I'm doing here. I just finished cleaning out my fuel line from the tank up to the engine compartment. What I did is I loaded up some carb cleaner in this pump sprayer, and I went ahead and pump sprayed through with a container up front to collect it, but it came out pretty dirty and started running clean. So the fuel system, as far as smell, has been eradicated. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that. Now it's time to get in the shop. There's no way I was going to go in the shop and work on this car with that just horrendous smell of 18-year-old gasoline. So what I want to do now, I still haven't started it. I haven't spun it over yet because I've got a little more work to do on it. But I want to get it in the shop, and if I do get the engine to fire and get it to run, then the next things I've got to tackle are the brakes. The brakes are frozen, and the air suspension system. You know, that's going to be some major work. But I'm using a pressure washer today to clean. I want to clean these key components, including the brakes underneath the car, because once I get it on the lift, you know, probably the next thing I'm going to actually do is mount the fuel pump right back here in the back underneath the car and get new fuel lines and get the tank back in and get fuel pumping up to the engine compartment. And then I'm going to do a little more work on the fuel injection system before I actually start cranking it. And I don't want to do this outside here in the cold, so it's going into the shop probably tomorrow after this dries out. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time cleaning the area around the leveling valves on the front of the car and at the rear. Now, if you're not familiar with how this air suspension system works, I've done a 6 or 7 part video series on that, on how to, you know, take the valves off and get them fixed. So I'll put a link below in the description of this video if you're interested in learning more about the air suspension system. As we go along, I'll kind of show you some of the things I'm going to have to do on this one. I won't go into detail because I've already done those videos. But you're going to get to see the parts, and you know, am I going to have to buy new airbags, and well, what about this and that? So I think you'll find that interesting as we go along. But I also want to, you know, clean all the dirt underneath here. Get rid of all the, you know, I still got some cobwebs on here that I got to get rid of. So there's a lot of work, but let me tell you, it's a lot easier to do this kind of work when the underside of the car is clean. Now, here's just one little tip for you 108 and 109 owners, if you're not already aware of it, but it has to do with this area right up here on the very end of the front fender above the headlight bucket. That area tends to collect mud and dirt as it spins off the tire. It's actually the tires, you're going down a gravel road, and dirt and mud are just flung right up on top of that headlight bucket, and guess what happens? That's right. So you end up impacting mud and dirt up in there, and that's why a lot of these 108, 109, 111s rust out right on that edge, right above the headlight chrome ring. Now, I don't think these are rusted out, so I'm going to clean them, and if they are rusty, I'm going to treat them with Miracle Paint, and I won't have any problem with that in the future. But just a little tip: if you got one of these cars, about every 6 months, get a pressure washer up in there and blast the area on top of the headlight inside the front fender. So I'm once again, the more I'm around this car, the more I'm really happy with the lack of rust. It's got surface rust, but there's no rust out anywhere on this body. Now you notice I'm using electric pressure washer here, and I actually prefer the electric pressure washers over I've got a big 3800 PSI gas pressure washer, but you really have to be careful when you get under here and start blasting away. You need to be conscious of what you're blasting at, because you can do some damage with these high PSI pressure washers. So I'm just using an electric. I can back it off and kind of control the spray and the strength of the spray. Notice here I'm using a carpet that collects, and then I got this little drip pan here. which I use to collect all the major stuff first, and then I'll pour that out and collect that for disposal. But the carpet will collect all the other junk that this does not. So that's one thing that'll keep your area clean and from any contaminants. I think I'm looking right now at this airbag after I've pressure washed it, and it's looking pretty bad. I mean, it's looking kind of cracked. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to do the back end, the other side, and the next time you see this car, it's going to be in my shop.